If you've seen any of the Ripple XRP conspiracy theories, you are not going to believe what we found today. And with the Bearable guy posting these cryptic riddles here, signaling that something major is coming, well, as we get closer and closer to Christmas time and the TCRB explosion, well, the last two times that TCRB exploded was in 1946, the exact same time that the Bretton Woods system launched, along with other major economic advancements that sparked a 20-year expansion in the stock market and an absolute explosion in commodities. Also, 1866, the time before then, right after the National Banking Act that created national banks all across the nation and a uniform currency. So in today's video, we have to talk about why the next explosion for TCRB will be around the exact same time as the next major global financial shift. And it's no coincidence why gold is over $4,000 an ounce. And the crypto market is the topic of conversation because by next month, we're about to see the ISO 222 standard live globally. And if you thought the timing of all this is just way too perfect, wait until you see what I'm going to share with you over the next few minutes. Comment 777 if you're feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish. And as always, if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. Do you love crypto, but are you worried about taxes shrinking your retirement nest egg? Here's the deal. Trading and selling crypto can trigger capital gains taxes, eating into your wealth. A crypto IRA fixes that. Per IRS publication 590B, traditional IRA gains like those from crypto aren't taxed until distributed. That's why we've partnered with iTrust Capital, a leading crypto IRA company in the USA, to sponsor today's video. And they offer institutional grade custody for retail clients that want to set up their crypto IRAs for retirement, leveraging top storage solutions like Fidelity, Wells Fargo, and Coinbase Prime to keep your assets secure. To get started, simply click the link in the description of this video, sign up for free, and fund your account with cash. They also offer 401k rollovers or crypto transfers, and you can trade 24/7 with just 1% transaction fees and no maintenance costs. As always, I'm not a CPA or financial advisor, so consult one for tax advice, and we do earn a commission if you sign up using our link below to fund your crypto IRA account, but that helps support value-based videos like this, and iTrust Capital already has over 200,000 crypto IRA accounts and over $14 billion in transactions, proving they're trusted by smart investors just like you. So click the link below, get started now by funding your account today, and let's create generational wealth together. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So now it's forecasted that the U.S. government shutdown is expected to last nearly 24 days. And with the initial news of the government shutting down, well, Bitcoin made a new all-time high, is currently pulling back at the time of making this video, but gold also crossed $4,000 today. So this kind of rapid spike has only happened a few times in history, and it's never ended well. The pattern goes back centuries. You know, the Roman crisis from 235 to 284 AD, the Roman Empire collapse, the Spanish Empire's decline in the 1600s, the French Revolutionary period from 1789, the Weimar Republic in Germany from 1921 to 1923, where hyperinflation destroyed the savings of everyone. Then we had the Bretton Woods collapse in 1971. It caused a dollar crisis and gold soared over 2,400%. Then the Soviet Union in 1991, the ruble collapsed. Every single time this has happened in the past, it's meant the same thing. This time it's no different. People have lost faith in their money and the government, and history is repeating itself right now. Even CEO of Citadel, Ken Griffin, is saying that investors are starting to view gold as a safer asset than the dollar. Now that's obvious, but this is what the vast majority of Americans don't understand.
Inflation is substantially above target and substantially above target in all forecasts for next year. I mean, it's part of the reason the dollar's depreciated by about 10% in the first half of this year. It's the single biggest decline in the US dollar in 6 months in 50 years. Gold is at record highs. And the appreciation in other dollar substitutes, to use that word loosely, in items like crypto, for example, is unbelievable. So we're seeing substantial asset inflation away from the dollar as people are looking for ways to effectively de-dollarize or de-risk their portfolios vis-a-vis U.S. sovereign risk.
Are you really seeing that?
No, just check the price of gold.
Well,
I mean, I don't have to look very hard.
It's a life of its own. Yeah.
What?
It's a life of its own, gold.
No, but it's a life of its own as you see sovereigns around the world, as you see central banks around the world, as you see individual investors around the world go, you know what? I now view gold as a safe harbor asset in a way that the dollar used to be viewed. That's what's really concerning to me. And there's been plenty of published research in recent weeks, months, about foreign investors now, when they buy U.S. equities, hedging the returns back to their local currency. So that, again, is a bifurcation of I'm going to bet on American business, but I want to immunize some of my sovereign exposure to the United States.
And this is why we've seen gold reserves with the major powerhouse companies skyrocket. You can see China started accumulating way more gold than ever before after Q3 of 2022. And Q2 of this year is the most gold they've ever accumulated. So it's no coincidence why Trump is calling this the golden era, because the United States has more gold than every other country too. And it's not even close. The US is over 8,000, Germany is over 3,300. Then you got Italy at 2,400, then France, Russia, China, Switzerland. The list goes down from there. So this is the most important thing to understand, because if China's accumulating more gold, France is accumulating more gold, India's accumulating more gold, Japan just keeps stacking more gold. Well, major gold bug Peter Schiff said that what's happening in gold this year reminds him what happened in the subprime mortgage crash after 2007. When the subprime market blew up, an event he had warned about for years, it was the harbinger of the financial crisis that hit the following year. Yet few on Wall Street perceived the warning. Gold's surge in 2025 likely portends a US dollar and sovereign debt crisis next year that will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. Yet, as was the case in 2007, few on Wall Street perceived the significance of the warning. And gold's monthly RSI hit over 91, marking it its most overbought level on record. Not even 2001, 2008, or 2020 saw a reading of 90 plus. And gold is now up 50% in 2025 alone, or nearly 4 times the S&P 500's year-to-date return. So this run in precious metals, guys, is not a coincidence. Markets are forward-looking here. It's no coincidence either why Donald Trump rung the New York Stock Exchange bell, becoming the first president since Ronald Reagan to ring the opening bell. And after ringing the bell, he stopped by to meet the Citadel Securities team here. Some people just think is routine, but what's interesting here is the Citadel logo is this castle or fortress here, and their main brand colors are blue and white. And if we just look up the New York Stock Exchange on the Gematria calculator, it's interesting how it shows up the same number in English Gematria as XRP, $20. But if we look up Citadel Securities, it comes up as the same number as Donald Trump time. And if we look up Donald Trump, it comes up as 589. ISO XRP, Ripple the Bull, a storm is coming. It also comes up as XRP, XLM, XDC. It's happening, and so it begins. The real key that we need to do is to decode the messages. Because when Donald Trump rung the opening bell, he also took this picture holding this gavel here, which is the gavel right here next to the bell, right in front of him. And it's interesting symbology here because Time magazine's in the backdrop. It's Time, and he's the person of the year. He's also the crypto president. And if you remember this picture from Bearable Guy 123, with this hand with a suit on, ringing this bell right here, all while these characters play poker around a table with this picture of the boat in the backdrop. And then many of you remember this picture right here with Brad Garlinghouse, Stuart Alderati, having dinner with Donald Trump in January of this year. And in the backdrop, there's a picture of these boats sailing through rough seas, which is crazy timing, and the symbology is pretty weird. And this picture right here that was posted back in December of 2021 with the bear looking out the window here at this explosion that's happening in the sky. But one thing that I noticed that I've seen many times over, but I didn't really think anything of it because I just thought it was a clock. But right next to this gavel with the Triskelion logo on it, that's also Ripple's logo, where they got their inspiration from was the Triskelion. Right below it, this picture right here, I thought was a clock. So what I did was I Command-Shift-4 and I took a screenshot of this thing on the fireplace here. Now you can do this with any image. If you go to Google and you click this little picture icon right here, you can search by image. And if I drag and drop that image right here, you'll see it comes up as this thing right here, an Antikythera mechanism here. Now, I was a little confused because I thought this was an antique clock, but I did a little more research into this mechanism here, and what I found will blow your mind. If you look this up on Google, this is what shows up. This ancient looking astronomy device. And so I zoomed in on the image on the fireplace here, and you can't tell me this isn't the exact same thing. If you look at it closely, you can even see in all 4 corners these little circles right here. In this same image, in all 4 corners, there's the same little circles. And on a normal clock, you know how there's a short hand and a long hand? Well, in this image, I can see 1, 2, 3, potentially even 4 little hands right here. And on the Antikythera mechanism, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Also, you see this little knob in the middle followed by this little hubcap? Well, you can see the same thing in the image on the left, this little knob in the middle followed by this hubcap. And so I did a little more digging into what this device is, And this is where it gets trippy here.
Now, when they found that ancient Greek computer thing, on what is that called?
The Antikythera mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, what does it do?
And it has been determined that that analog computer was used to predict astronomical events.
For more than a century, this mechanism taunted historians. Half of the machine that survived, and the remaining half was lost at sea. The rear gears predicted eclipses in calendars and silenced for over 2,000 years. That silence has been broken.
This was a spectacular device. It's an analog computer. It doesn't use digital. It uses wheels and gears. This was a device that we wouldn't see again for another 2,000 years.
Arguably the first computer that was ever created, artificial intelligence, restored the fractured inscriptions letter by letter, giving engineers the blueprint to completely rebuild what was missing. Piece by piece, the missing half was restored.
After they were able to finish their thousands of scans of the 82 pieces, something truly amazing emerges, and that is they find writing.
And what it calculates is blowing the minds of historians globally.
And they also use a computed X-ray tomography to get closer looks on the inside. What this will help them to do is to create a highly detailed 3D image of the mechanism for the very first time.
Now here's why I believe this image that's on top of the fireplace is the Antikythera, because if we go to the gematria calculator and we type in the word, you're not going to believe what it comes up. It comes up as the exact same Jewish gematria numbers as XRP moontime and XRP adoption. But get this, it also comes up as the exact same number in English gematria as Phoenix coin, astrology, stronghold, and check this out, triskelion. The exact same image that is right above the Antikythera on this gavel right here is the triskelion. And right beneath triskelion it says no coincidences. So do you think whoever is behind this Bearable Guy account just randomly put a hand in here ringing this massive bell? And then Donald Trump becomes the first president since Ronald Reagan to ring the New York Stock Exchange bell, meets up with Citadel Securities, the company that has a castle as their logo, all while the Bearable Guy uses this castle in a lot of his images with USD, XRP, and Bitcoin, with a blue block right in the middle, which is Citadel Securities brand color after all. And if you just look up the phrase Euronext gavel on the gematria calculator, it shows up as the Great Awakening, digital currency, Trump Tower, even Trump Force One. And all of this is put in this image of Bearable Guy alongside something exploding in outer space with a rocket ship heading to the moon. Now, we decoded this in another video talking about how this explosion is TCRB because of this little circle right here on the edge of the window frame that was blatantly put in there. It's not just random, with a star exploding. And so could the Antikythera mechanism be a subtle nod at celestial timing for when TCRB is supposed to explode, and the positioning of the hands on the mechanism is when it could be happening? Now, it was too grainy of an image for me to figure this out, so maybe you guys can dig further into this in terms of where the hands are placed on it. I even downloaded an app on my phone and tried to play around with it, and I just couldn't figure it out. But I just thought it was too strange because if you're not familiar with TCRB, well, it's all over NASA's website right here. It's T Corona Borealis, and astronomers have been waiting for this explosion for a while. It was supposed to explode in 2024, and this will be a once-in-a-lifetime event here. And it's very interesting how the Corona Borealis is in this constellation right here, and it's known as the Blaze Star. So, is that why there was a phoenix on the cover of The Economist? To symbolize a rebirth, like a phoenix spawning from the ashes? Could it have anything to do with the Blaze Star?
Our work on Phoenix, which continues to be in kind of alpha/beta, and I'll skip some of this just to keep this short, but our work on Phoenix, which continues to be in kind of alpha/beta.
Well, these events happen roughly every 80 years, and what makes this significant is what I talked about at the beginning of this video. In 1946, when the explosion took place, it was when the Bretton Woods system was officially established. This was post-World War II, and an economic boom began. The time before then was in 1866, when national banks were created and a uniform currency was established. This was post-Civil War, and this basically turned the banking system into what it is today. So the past two times that this explosion took place, we saw one of the biggest shifts in the financial industry. Could it be 3 for 3 when this happens again? I think that's what's going to take place. So it's no wonder why NASA is tracking this. It's no wonder why this cartoon bear that is posting these riddle images has been showing TCRB. Even in this image from December 2023, what looks like the sun in the sky, if you change the resolution of it, it's actually an explosion happening in the sky. And in this image right here, we have the gavel, the triskelion, the Antikythera mechanism, TCRB exploding in the sky all around Christmas time. So could that be this Christmas? Could that be next Christmas? Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. But I just find this way too weird. I mean, how can you just think of this as a coincidence? I get it, the gematria stuff might be way too weird for you because you just don't understand it. But why would it come up as the exact same numbers as XRP moon time and be used in this image while there's a rocket heading to the moon? And it also comes up as XRP adoption. Plus a little side note here, it's the same number as Crypto Barn. And I made a video over a year ago talking about this from The Simpsons, how they had the Crypto Barn in here. And there was a video game made with the Crypto Barn, and underneath it said deciphering secret government plans. And this episode was made in 1997 before Bitcoin ever came out. Now what's interesting is in the exact same year, the NSA released a document called How to Make a Mint, the Cryptography of Anonymous Electronic Cash. And what's crazy about this is the Simpsons either have to be time travelers or they're just predictive programming people, because when they predict something like, for example, Donald Trump becoming president, and then shortly after that, Donald Trump going down this escalator here with Homer right behind him, then he does the same thing. The strange part about this is not the similarities here, because Trump could have just seen this episode and then decided to go down this escalator with a bunch of people behind him. But what's strange is at the exact same time in the backdrop, this Simpsons character drops the sign at the same time that this other sign was dropped in the real footage. By the way, this video was made when XRP was at 53 cents. So had you guys listened to these crazy conspiracy theories, you'd be 5 to 6 times richer right now. And I was even talking about the total 2 chart back here when it was only at about $861 billion, talking about this breakout back to the all-time high. And that's exactly what we saw happen. Total 2 is now at its previous all-time high. And what's about to happen next is going to blow everyone's mind, because if we look at the Dow to gold ratio, which is a 100-year historical chart, it tracks the ratio of the Dow Jones Industrial Average to the price of gold. And the number tells you how many ounces of gold it would take to buy the Dow at any given month. And previous cycle lows have been around 1.94 ounces in February of 1933. And 1.29 ounces in January of 1980, the lowest that it's been in over 100 years. So where are we right now? Well, we're right around 12. And if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the Dow to gold ratio here. And I drew vertical lines for when this chart is peaked out. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the price of gold. So back here, back in 1966, when the Dow to gold ratio topped out, that's when gold was all the way down here at like $20 or $30 per ounce. Now, obviously, if you weren't born during that time, you couldn't accumulate gold, but this is a good thing to look at to understand what's happening now with the price of gold exploding. So when the Dow to gold ratio bottomed out here in 1980, that's when gold topped out at over $800 per ounce. And then gold went into a bear market. And so it was smarter to rotate capital from gold to the stock market at that time, because then we peaked out here in 1999. At the exact same time, gold was bottoming out down here around $250, $260 an ounce. Then after that, gold went on this historic bull run all the way up to 2011. Nearly $2,000 per ounce, while the Dow to gold ratio bottomed out on the bottom left-hand side of the screen right here, and then reversed to the upside. And since then, we've been in a bull run for gold. Even though the stock market's been doing well, it just means that gold's been doing better. And since 2018, when we topped out again and we've been going down, gold's been going up. So I don't think this bull run for gold is done just yet, because you can see back down here, on the left-hand side of the screen, we have a lot of downside room to go. And when you look at the Dow to gold ratio, we're still at 12. We're nowhere near where we were in 2011, let alone 1980 or 1933. So this is where a lot of people are predicting gold to go to 8, 9, 10, 12, maybe $15,000 per ounce or higher. And this is why Trump is saying we're in the golden age or the golden era. And he's filling the White House with a bunch of gold. And the Dow to gold ratio reminds me of actually Ethereum's chart. We're seeing a similar pattern play out here. So back here in 2011, when the Dow to gold ratio bottomed out, this is when gold topped out and went into a bear market. And then it reversed to the upside while gold was selling off. And now that the Dow to gold ratio has been reversing to the downside, gold has been rallying. So it's not quite over yet, because when you look at Ethereum to Bitcoin's price chart on the bottom of the screen, we saw the same thing happen. We saw Ethereum bottom out relative to gold back here in 2019. And then Ethereum went on this bull run for 2021, just like how the stock market went on this massive bull run. We saw gold experience a short-term pump while the stock market sold off, a retracement rally, then a continuation to the downside. It's the same thing for Ethereum. We saw this short-term sell-off, retracement rally, then a continuation to the downside. So now we've just broken below support on the Dow to gold ratio, and we have plenty of room right here to the downside that you can see at the top of the screen. The relative strength index is at 30 right now. If you look at what happened with Ethereum, Ethereum's RSI dipped all the way down here to 23. So gold can continue running higher than the stock market and outperform it. Even with the stock market doing well and going to a blow off top, that just means that gold is going to continue and go even more vertical, even if there's a short-term pullback, as the Dow to gold ratio continues to the downside. But once this bottom is in on the left-hand side of the screen, that's when the top will be in for gold, and we go into another bear market similar to what's happened every single time in the history. And then we reverse back to the upside on the Dow to gold ratio. So this happens like clockwork here. But this is a harbinger, like Peter Schiff said, of what's to come for the economy. Because right here at the top of the screen, we can see gold compared to Bitcoin's price chart. On the bottom of the screen, we can see Bitcoin's price chart. Even though gold has been doing well, Bitcoin has been doing even better. Because this chart at the top of the screen tracks gold's performance relative to Bitcoin. And since November of 2022, Bitcoin has been drastically outperforming gold. If we measure from the bottom to where we're at right now, we're up over 600%. That's over a 6 to 7x for Bitcoin, whereas gold is only up like 140%. So if gold continues to rip to the upside, which it most likely will keep going up towards the end of this year, then Bitcoin is going to do even better. And this chart is just proof of that. Gold has been underperforming Bitcoin, and we're in this downtrend forming a lower high. So until we clear this downtrend and experience a major break to the upside where gold just goes full vertical and Bitcoin either goes sideways or down, Bitcoin is just going to continue to follow along gold and outperform it. Now, what I think is going to happen here is after this downtrend is done will be when Bitcoin's top is in and we experience this blow off top somewhere at the end of this year or beginning of 2026. Gold relative to Bitcoin at the top of the screen bottoms out at support, and then we see a macro trend reversal to the upside after Bitcoin's tops in, and we see this break of trend for Bitcoin because Bitcoin has been bouncing off of this ascending support ever since the bear market low, whereas gold has been rejecting from this descending resistance ever since this major breakdown in October of 2023 when Bitcoin exploded to the upside. Gold broke to the downside relative to Bitcoin. Bitcoin started to outperform gold. So not every downtrend lasts forever and not every uptrend lasts forever. This is what I believe. There's going to be a top for Bitcoin coming in at the exact same time that the gold to Bitcoin price chart bottoms out. Once that happens and we see a reversal of trend, then we could quite possibly see a major bear market for cryptocurrencies. And then when the bottom's in, then we see the next major bull market. And could this coincide with TCRB? Well, we'll just see. Bitcoin right now is sitting at $123,000. Is attempting to break this downtrend right here. We experienced a bearish cross right here above 80 on the stochastic RSI. The relative strength index is at 55 right now. So Bitcoin could range for a little bit longer before breaking out to an all-time high. What I would want to see is the stochastic RSI reset closer to 0 and the relative strength index to come back down closer to 30 before Bitcoin breaks out. But the reason why Bitcoin has just been outperforming gold is because US corporate profits from the Fortune 500, Fortune 50 companies have been going up since 2022. So they've been taking their capital, they've been putting it into Bitcoin as an emerging market. They've been buying gold as well. And BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is the number one in inflows this week with $3.5 billion. That's 10% of all net ETF inflows. So this has been an institutional driven rally and also a retail bear market, because if you look at the interest on Google Trends since 2022, well, Bitcoin is only 40 out of 100. The retail's not even really back yet. Although Bitcoin made a new all-time high. Even altcoins, look at where the interest is over the past 12 months. We're at 7 out of 100s. We're in an altcoin bear market, but yet the alt season indicator has showed that we've been in an altcoin bull market. So really, this has been an institutional rally thus far because corporate profits are through the roof. So if the largest companies in the world understand what's coming next, they're buying gold. Central banks are buying gold. The largest companies are diving into crypto. They're buying crypto too. They understand that the collapse of the dollar is not a possibility. It's an inevitability. It's virtually guaranteed. So in order for alt season to really take off, we need to see Bitcoin's dominance roll around to the downside, because since the 13th of September, we've seen this bounce in Bitcoin's dominance higher. We've seen this pullback on the alt season indicator here, pulling back from 80 to now 61. Now, you compare this back to the past. Anytime we're below 25, it's Bitcoin season here. Anytime we're above 75, it's altcoin season. So when we start to pull back, that's when Bitcoin starts to rally. So it's highly likely that Bitcoin's dominance just continues higher leading into the end of the year. And once we see the next breakdown in Bitcoin's dominance, like what we saw from June of this year until just recently September with Bitcoin's dominance dropping, that's what caused the alt season indicator to go from, all the way down here at 12 to all the way up here to 80. So if you just follow this, that'll tell you when is the best time to hold Bitcoin and when is the best time to hold altcoins. Similar to the Dow to gold ratio, when we're below 25, it's smart to rotate your Bitcoin over to altcoins. And then when we're above 75, it's smart to rotate your altcoins over to Bitcoin. Now, obviously, there's capital gains taxes that you have to be aware of. And so unless you really know what you're doing, long-term holders tend to make the most money. And if you want to trade, you need to do that into a crypto Roth IRA because those trades are tax-free until you take distributions from them. Now, I'll leave a link in the description below to set up your Roth IRA. That's why I played that clip at the beginning of this video. You guys can take advantage of that and prepare yourself for retirement. In my last video that I made 10 hours ago, I talked about XRP to the US dollar price chart experiencing a short-term bounce and potentially sell off further to the downside. And sure enough, we're seeing that short-term bounce for XRP from $2.83 all the way up to $2.92. We're currently sitting at $2.89 right now. We did experience a bearish cross on the stochastic RSI. The relative strength index is at 51. So I'd want to see the stochastic RSI reset down here after XRP is done rallying, and then for us to see a sell-off back to the downside, just like I drew out in this video right here. We'll see if this takes place. Nonetheless, you don't want to enter in on breakouts when we're in overbought conditions on these key indicators and we're all the way up here at 80 or we're near 70 or above 70. You want to wait for these key indicators to reset a little bit lower and then also look at major support and resistance levels to get better entry points. But it's very interesting how 2020 is looking similar to 2025 when XRP started to break out in November around the exact same time for this bull run cycle that the ISO 222 standard is going live. Not only that, but we have all these XRP ETF filings with the SEC being decided on at the end of this month from Bitwise, Canary Capital, 21 Shares, Grayscale, CoinShares, Franklin Templeton, Hashtag, among several others. And these companies have billions of dollars to, $1 trillion or more in assets under management. So they're prepping for something big because they know when this breakout happens for XRP, retail is going to be flooding in and corporations are going to be completely reallocating their portfolio over to the crypto market. And XRP has seen its highest level of retail fear, uncertainty, and doubt since Trump's tariff news were announced 6 months ago. There has been more bearish comments than bullish over the past few days, which is generously a promising buy signal. Markets move opposite to smaller trader expectations. And what I've seen from making videos about XRP is the toxicity and the negativity around full-grown men and women that have not learned how to manage their emotions around investments is at a high right now. People look for somebody to blame, and they've been blaming me for why XRP hasn't gone above $3 yet. And they fail to realize XRP is up over 800% since I've been talking about it all through the entire bear market. So for the people that have been around a while, they're nearly 8-9 times richer than before they came to this YouTube channel. It's the people that are late that don't pay attention to what I'm talking about on these key indicators that end up buying the tops, and they get mad at me and they're like, XRP is doing bad. No, it's doing bad from when you bought it. XRP is doing great from when our entire community bought it all the way down here, and this is just the start. The next 10 years are going to be absolutely insane. And the smart investors are prepping because in 20 days and 19 hours from right now, the Federal Reserve is going to lower interest rates. And then by the December meeting, the Fed is going to lower rates again. And then by the January meeting, the expectations of lowering rates is going to happen again. So it's always the expectations of lower interest rates that creates a pump in the market, and also an expansion in global liquidity that creates a breakout in the market as well. Because if global liquidity is expanding, then that liquidity has to flow somewhere, and corporate profits are up. Those profits flow somewhere. So this is why when I made that video over a year ago talking about conspiracy theories, I was also talking about what was happening on Total 2's chart. And sure enough, Total 2 exploded to the upside. Now it's taken a little bit longer. It wasn't a clean sweep to the upside. I mean, we had periods where we'd break out, massive sell-off, breakout, massive sell-off, breakout. It's possible that we have some chop and a short-term sell-off here, but eventually the next move to the upside is going to be massive because right now we're pretty much at the previous high. And once we break that high, it's going to be an explosion to the upside. It's no coincidence why TCRB is almost ready to explode as well. The entire banking system is shifting around from the old messaging standard to ISO 222, and global liquidity has been expanding. So we'll see what happens towards the end of this year. As always, buckle your seatbelts as we back up our truck all the way to the bank, grab the bags, pack them and stack them, leave no bags left behind. And if you guys want to learn what the smartest thing to do while the market's range sideways and you're holding on to altcoins that are underperforming relative to Bitcoin, well, our team has been teaching our members inside of Altcoin Pro University how to earn passive income on their crypto. If you have 10K or more in crypto, you're literally giving up an extra $300 per month in passive income. You're giving up on a free 3 to 8% additional monthly yield just because it's sitting on an exchange like Coinbase or Binance and you're being lazy. You're taught to hodl, just wait for price appreciation, and this is costing you thousands of dollars. So let's see what happens here. While your assets are sitting there doing absolutely nothing and inflation is kicking your ass, For example, Ethereum didn't do anything over the course of 3 months. XRP didn't do anything over a whole year. And Solana, same thing. It didn't do anything for an even longer period of time while you sat there making no money. And I'm not saying that these are bad investments. It's quite the opposite, actually. But the smartest investors in the world make their crypto work for them to generate additional yield. And why would you not do that? You're holding these crypto assets anyways. It's like buying a rental property and not renting it out. If you hold on to the property because you believe that it's going to appreciate in value over years, why wouldn't you rent it out so someone else can pay your mortgage while you still get the value appreciation? So it makes no sense to just hold your crypto without earning yield on your idle coins. And if you're just holding your crypto on exchanges like Coinbase, your assets aren't safe. In fact, Coinbase was hacked for $400 million and the hackers bribed Coinbase employees so they could access sensitive user information, demanding a $20 million ransom from Coinbase, which the company refused to pay.
I want to make you aware of a disturbing email that we received recently at Coinbase. It was a ransom note demanding $20 million in Bitcoin in exchange for these attackers not releasing some information they claim to have obtained on our customers. I'm going to respond publicly to these attackers by saying no. We are not going to pay your ransom.
And I even received a letter in the mail saying that my information was included in that hack. So I'm speaking from firsthand experience here, not just an article that I read online. So not only are you leaving free money on the table by not earning yield on your idle crypto, but you're also putting yourself at risk of losing it all, getting hacked, or having your account frozen by keeping your crypto on centralized exchanges. Because if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. You already know this, so I don't have to tell you. You can't afford to be lazy with your capital. The US is drowning in nearly $40 trillion in debt, so this is your insurance against the system. To learn how you can earn passive income on your coins every single day while protecting your capital from hacks or scammers, my research team put together a step-by-step tutorial for you to start earning yield on your crypto today, and it takes less than 10 minutes to get set up. All you need to do is go to altcoinpro.com after you're done watching this video, create your account, and click on the Start Here lesson under the classroom, and you'll discover how one liquidity pool is earning our members up to 40% yield on digital assets that they already own. Plus, you can go into the DeFi yield picks and see even more opportunities to earn passive income on your coins safe and predictably with complete control and ownership of your assets. You will make significantly more money by being your own bank. And all you need to do is go to altcoinpro.com to get started right now.